Good evening to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to an update on what is catastrophic, very rare, and absolutely extreme Hurricane Milton. I know I haven't done a video in a while. It's been since probably Hurricane Debbie that I've done a video, but I really needed to come on tonight to talk about Milton, even if just briefly, because just look at the satellite imagery. An image is worth a thousand words if you've heard that expression before. And I think Milton sums it up very, very much in that phrase. A very small hurricane, but a very small eye. But believe me, there are very strong winds within that eye, and a very low central pressure as well. Let's actually take a look at the latest information from the National Hurricane Center as of the 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time update. It is a pressure with winds of maximum sustained winds of 180 miles per hour and a minimum central pressure of 897 millibars. That's the lowest pressure in a hurricane since probably at least 2005 in the Atlantic. And this is the second lowest pressure on record in the Gulf of Mexico for a hurricane ever. The only storm that was stronger was Hurricane Rita, and that was only by 2 millibars. So this is a very, very dangerous storm. And just by the satellite imagery, you could see a very small eye. And look at all these very cold cloud tops that surround it. It is a very powerful storm. It's likely not going to maintain at this intensity for a while, but it is headed towards Florida. And if you are in Florida, my biggest suggestion to you is to, if you're in a hurricane warning area or if you are in an evacuation zone, get the hell out. This is a monstrous storm. Once again, I mentioned it's very small. It's going to grow in size, but important to mention is that this storm has so much energy with it. I mean, it's 180 miles an hour. That is already, in terms of wind speeds, one of the highest on record for an Atlantic hurricane. And so that just stirs up so much energy in the ocean. The storm surge heading into Florida. Let's actually really quickly take a look at the cone. 180 miles an hour right now. This is going to skirt very close to the Yucatan of Mexico, the northern Yucatan. We will not get a landfall on the northern Yucatan coast, so that is a good thing, but there is still a hurricane warning in effect. But we will get a landfall in Florida, likely as a major hurricane and likely very close, if not potentially right on top of the Tampa metro area. And we'll probably get hurricane impacts extending north and south of there as well, which includes areas that were devastated by Helene just about a week or two earlier. So if you are in Florida, do not take this with a grain of salt at all. This is absolutely no joke. And as I mentioned with the storm surge as well, very cataclysmic storm surge. Probably the values that are expected will only increase, I believe so, over the next several days. 10 to 15 feet of storm surge expected right into the Tampa Bay. This is probably the worst case scenario for a hurricane possible, or at least the worst case scenario we've seen over the last several years. And believe me, we've had quite a bit of shots try to make their way into Tampa. Milton looks like it's going to be the one storm that'll actually do it. But keep in mind that the storm surge will not just be a threat for the Tampa Bay. It's going to also be a big issue once again for those just north of there, 5 to 10 feet right around, extending just past Tampa up into Yankeetown. And this is generally the same area that was devastated by Helene. So if you're in these areas, get away from the coast. At this moment, any sort of recovery effort should really turn into a re-preparation effort, because there's no other way to put it. We're about to deal with another major hurricane impact in Florida. If you've not started preparing yet, you still have time, because this is expected to make landfall early Thursday morning. So it's Monday right now. We still got 3 days for this before it is expected to make landfall. Actually, more like, I guess, 2.5. But there's still time, so use that time right now. But even if you're not along the coast, inland as well, I think, especially after Helene in the Carolinas and Georgia, there's no explanation needed for it. And obviously, the absolute disaster of a government response that we've had in the Carolinas, but I don't want to go into that. But especially after Helene, I think we should all learn that you cannot just expect the worst impacts at the coastline. You really can't. And there's actually, if we go here, all of the maps that I'm bringing up, by the way, are on the National Hurricane Center.gov website. It's a free website, and if you want the information whenever you need it, just go to nhc.noaa.gov. In fact, I know a lot of people are on this website today because it keeps on going down quite a bit and crashing. So that just goes to show the magnitude of the storm, and I can only imagine that'll continue over the next several days. But anyways, onto the rainfall. As I've been saying with the rainfall too, it's going to be a very, very big issue. Look at all this, 6 to 8 inches, maybe even more in some areas, especially in northern Florida too, which is where we saw Helene's worst impact. And with that, there's also a flash flooding potential, moderate risk for flash flooding across portions of northern Florida and also southern Florida as well. So the impacts will not just be central and northern Florida, it's going to be South Florida too. I mean, we have watches and warnings extending all the way, basically including the entire Florida peninsula except the far western panhandle. And then this is going to move across the state. This will be a impact as well for the Carolinas too. I should mention that as well. Luckily, this will not be an impact for the interior Carolina. So if you're in interior North Carolina right now, if you're even able to see this video, in interior North or South Carolina, this will not be an impact for them. This is really going to look like a coastal South Carolina, maybe North Carolina storm. As this moves across Florida, will probably weaken dramatically, and then speed up and turn post-tropical out to sea in the Atlantic. So that's kind of the issue with that once it moves past Florida. But up into Florida, we're expecting a major hurricane landfall. And really quickly, just to reiterate how much of a strong storm this is the latest information from Recon. Actually, this is, I think, could be updated a little bit. No new Recon data yet. And actually, Tropical Tidbits is having a lot of issues. But if you just saw on the map that I showed you, Recon did go in, and partially the reason why we have the pressure at 897 millibars as the latest National Hurricane Center update is because Recon went in and they found the storm at 897 millibars. Once again, it's, I think, probably in the top 5 strongest Atlantic hurricanes of all time. This is really nothing to play with, and we actually have some more Recon inside. And they're also getting pressure readings in the low 900s and upper 890s. So this means that this storm is holding steady. Also, Recon is finding that there is barely to even no sign of eye wall replacement cycle occurring, although you can see on the latest satellite images that the eye is kind of clouding up a little bit, although maybe that's just because the eye is contracting so much, meaning that it's still trying to strengthen, but the eye is becoming so small you can even barely see it on satellite, and that just goes to show how insane this storm is. And insane, I mean, this storm is nothing short of insane. We just saw it, especially go from a Category 1 to a Category 5 today, in just 18 hours. It is an insane storm, but we still have a few more days left of it up until it gets to Florida. So once again, a lot more tracking ahead. Sorry I didn't post a video up until now, especially since we did have Helene and some other big storms before this. Kind of been MIA on YouTube, but I'm hopefully going to post another video tomorrow. I'm going to try to do more video updates on this as well. I also have my Twitter at Danilo Evangelista. Same name as I have here on YouTube. Just search it up on Twitter. In fact, actually, I'll pull you up my profile right here. This is my profile, Danilo Evangelista. Follow me if you want information at the second that it comes out. I'm much better with posting on Twitter than it is with YouTube videos, but believe me, I'll definitely be trying to do more, and we'll see. Does Milton get stronger from here on out? Some of the models say that maybe we might have a weakening phase right now, but it'll still try to strengthen in the next 12 to 24 hours or so, because conditions will still be favorable for a bit time more. So could this get stronger than 897 millibars and 180 miles an hour? Could we even get 185 or 190? We'll have to see. But regardless, if you're in Florida, my main message to you tonight is get the hell out. Get on the road, get as far away from the coastline as much as possible. And if you're inland, do not take this with grain of salt as well. Even if you're inland, prepare for flooding too, because that'll be a big issue. And besides that, pray. I mean, if you even if you don't believe in that kind of religious or spiritual aspect, certainly hope for the best, and definitely prepare for the worst too. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That is the phrase. That is the saying, and I think that really goes for what the deal is with Milton right now. But just wanted to lay it all out there with what's going on right now. Gonna try to post again, maybe tomorrow morning, and then I'll obviously not be able to post throughout most of the day tomorrow, but I'll try to post another video tomorrow afternoon just to get any latest information out there. And if you want to keep on top of that information with me, subscribe to me on YouTube and follow me on Twitter at Danilo Evangelista. But until then, stay safe. Peace, love, and kindness to all. Watch the tropics, especially with quite an unusual Hurricane Milton we have. And I can sure as hell tell you we will talk again very soon.